Good morning, and Zhao Shanghao. Peace be unto you all, and peace be unto the ancestors that made all of this possible. And we are gathered here this morning to do a follow up video to picking your art. So for all my would be students of the ancient art of butt whoop out there, they say when the student is ready, the master shall appear. Well, this is a very important thing, picking your teacher and picking your school. This is what we're going to discuss on this latest combat commentary. So, first thing you ought to consider is with your would-be instructor, Sifu Sensei, Maestro, from all my capoeiristas out there, do they know their stuff? And it goes back to the old adage that everybody respects a winner. For example, the first thing I ask myself when I am dealing with a potential teacher, can this guy or gal kick my ass? You can't kick my ass? Then what do I have to learn from you? It's one of those things, if I was learning to cook and, the would-be chef served me a dish that I could cook myself and gave me food poisoning, probably not going to be learning how to cook from that chef. So, there you have it. We live in a capitalist society. This is one of the ways you can avoid McDojos. Can they fight? All of my teachers, Grandmaster Johnny Lee, Sifu Justin and Sifu Herb and Sensei Ross Sabor, and all of them have at certain points in my martial history put hands on me and left me with my tail tucked between my legs. Humbled me big time. So, with that said, the first thing out of my mouth when I see any of those men is, take my money! So, and with that in mind, you gotta consider the fact that it's one thing to know the stuff, and it's one thing to have the different accolades, Grandmaster Lee is a Grandmaster, undefeated in rooftop fighting. Sifu Herb is a Hall of Famer at ICMAC tournaments. He's national champion in push hands. Sensei Ross, well, you've seen the video of him and I wrestling. Speaks for itself. And he's an 8th degree black belt in ninjutsu, and it was basically like fighting the Ninja Turtles fighting Shredder on the rooftop. It's nothing. It didn't matter if there was 4 of me of equal strength and skill, couldn't take this guy. So it's one thing to know your stuff and have all these accolades. It's another thing to be a filter of information for the masses. What I'm saying is, do you produce fruit from your tree? Good fruit. I.e., what do your students look like? If you can't produce at least one champion, then maybe I should learn from you. I.e., Ip Man produced Bruce Lee. That's why we know about Ip Man. And Bruce Lee produced Danny Inosanto. And there you have it. So, Jeet Kune Do is set in the annals of history. Well, Bujinkan gave us, Grandmaster Hatsumi Masaki gave us Bujinkan, and Bujinkan helped produce Ross Aborin. Likewise, Master Yi Tang first taught Johnny Lee, Grandmaster Johnny Lee, and gave some of the info to me. I need to learn more of it. Grandmaster Feng Zichang taught Zhang Zhuzhen. Zhang Zhuzhen taught Sifu Justin and Sifu Herb, and they're giving the game to me. And that also brings us to lineage. Is your art real? Has it stood the test of time? Do we have famous people within the art, students, champions, if you will, have made the art great? Because people do make the art great. Are you a part of something? And you got to consider that when becoming a respective student. You know, everybody knows karate because of Chuck Norris. Everybody knows Jeet Kune Do because of Bruce Lee. Everybody knows, well, at least in China. Well, everybody knows MMA because of guys like Anderson Silva and George St. Pierre. So you got to consider that. Is that school producing a champion? And, like, for example, Sensei Rossabourin's two sons, Logan and Garrett, both I've squared up with, both have caused me to tap out. Hey, game recognized game. Respect. So, again, take my money. And another thing you should consider, but it is not a deal breaker or a deal maker. What does their school look like? Is it, extra huge and spacious and air conditioned and whatnot, and has all the trimmings of a traditional school and whatnot? It's not necessarily a deal breaker if it isn't, but it's nice to train in comfort for the uninitiated. But if you're really serious about the art, you'll be on a mountaintop volcano with dragons trying to eat you and demons trying to rape you at every turn to master the art. So keep that in mind. Musashi Miyamoto, Japan's greatest swordsman, after the Battle of Sekigahara, was on the losing side and on the run, and he refined his art in the woods. He didn't go to a sword school. He just got better with the sword practice. He was a prodigy, from his respective family. He hated his father, but I digress. But he was basically a vagabond. He was in them streets doing it the hard way and taking out whole battalions. So how serious are you about your art? The world was his teacher, and soon he taught the world. But I digress. Having a big, spacious school is great, but again, not a deal breaker. Another thing you should consider is the temperament and traditions of the school. And this goes back to lineage. Is your lineage part of that Asian culture? Well, there's a reason they have their traditions. It helps build a family. Basically, you're building a familial relationship. And specifically, the Chinese and the Japanese are about cohesion of the family unit. And they take that seriously within their martial traditions. This is why, you address your teacher as Sifu or Sensei. And, here in America, we seem to get away from that. I don't know why. This culture of disrespect that we have amongst the youth, I don't like it. It's been responsible for endless amounts of misery and turmoil. But that's my personal opinion. Whatever. And it's these traditions that will help hold a family together. So if that is not your thing, if you're not about the burning of the incense and blessing the ancestors, if that is against your spiritual beliefs, whatever, don't go. The teacher will not shed tears over you not dealing with it. It's not for everybody. The philosophies aren't for everybody, okay? So you got to consider that. Now, as for the temperament, sometimes, especially if they're very traditional, sometimes they can come off to us Americans as being kind of a hard ass or a jerk. Well, there's a reason for that. They're teaching you ways to potentially murder somebody with your bare hands and weapons. So, if you don't have that maturity and that moral fiber that can be drilled into you with discipline, you become a danger to society. And look, no teacher worth his or her salt will want that blood on their hands. They don't want that in their head. I unleash this evil out in the world. It's the whole nobody wants to train Darth Vader, you know? So we have these traditions, and it's honestly, to me, it's a good thing. But again, if you're not with these traditions, you don't want to be respectful, don't go to these schools. But if you are there to get some structure in your life, get some structure for your kids, they're excellent. Martial arts, at the end of the day, is about making you better. I know I have learned so much about being a better human being from the martial arts. I don't know where to begin. And so, again, pick and choose your schools accordingly with that. Another thing you got to consider is the price. Now, you've seen the temperament of the school or the teacher. You've seen the school. You've seen the champions they produce. You've seen, or don't produce, you have seen the teacher, him or herself, in combat. If they aren't, to me, producing real results, then do not spend your money. You will be entering a McDojo. If they don't make you earn your place amongst the hierarchy, you gotta earn your. There's a reason for belt. Belts is just a way of saying, oh, well, you passed this grade, you can do such and such. Doesn't necessarily mean you are Bruce Lee. It just means you know your basics. That's all black belt is. But if you just are handed it's the belt factory McDojo, you don't necessarily have to pass your tests. Do not go to that school. That is a McDojo. That is a McDojo. Every school I go to, I've had to earn my rank. I've had to put in blood, sweat, and tears. Like, literally. Yes, we've watered them down from the ancient ways where, I'm basically getting bloodied up every session, breaking bones, and I've injured myself several times doing martial arts. Injured this shoulder recently, bloodied lip, cuts and bruises. If you looked at my hands real closely, there's scars all over them. So it's a good way to enforce, hard work and gumption. You gotta learn that sort of thing from the martial arts. And if the school you're trying to join doesn't do that, I highly recommend you don't join that. So consider all of these things when picking your respective school, i.e., does the teacher know their stuff? 2, do they produce powerful adepts? 3, is their school, nice and authentic looking? My teacher, Grandmaster Johnny Lee, it's like walking into Beijing or Hong Kong or Shanghai. It's very Chinese. Burn incense, shrines to the old masters, etc. Sensei Ross, same thing. That said, my Tai Chi school, they share a school with a karate school. So you might not see all the time, it's not as authentic, but it still produces. And that's what you should look for. Now, also consider the temperament. Do you have a firebrand? Do you have somebody who's easygoing? That's a personal thing that you should figure out. And do they make you prove yourself? Do they make you earn your keep as far as getting belts and whatnot? And with that said, if they do all of that, if they do all of the above, that's the one you should pick, in my opinion. But this is just my opinion. This is up to you to figure out. So with that said, if you like what you saw, like, share, and subscribe, and ring that bell icon. Be water, my friends. Have a great day, and Sai Chin.